Hello everyone, Tommy with Studio Sense here. Hope you're having a great day so far and happy that you stopped by to check out today's video. I sometimes say on my channel this fragrance is very niche-like in quality. What exactly does that mean? Well, to understand that, it helps to know what niche fragrances are, of course. Niche fragrances are usually projects that are produced by a single person or a very small group, and it's sold in a specific company store. Niche fragrances can be sold in luxury outlets and things like that on a smaller scale. They're sometimes referred to as artisan fragrances, artisanal fragrances, or even indie fragrances, but those are a little bit different. Even some very popular designer fragrances can create niche fragrances. They're just like upper echelon, very top shelf, very expensive, usually kind of fragrances. But occasionally a fragrance will be launched or produced by a designer that sometimes just perfectly fits the category of niche in terms of its quality. That'll prompt me to say, well, this is very niche-like. There are certain brands that are known for producing niche-like fragrances. So when we return, I've got 7 examples of outstanding designer fragrances that absolutely nail niche quality. Welcome back everyone. I've got 7 examples of designer fragrances that I feel are very niche-like in their quality and the way they perform. The first designer fragrance that I feel like is similar to niche in quality is from, believe it or not, Vince Camuto, who's not necessarily known for making great fragrances, just nominal or average. But Vince Camuto Oud really has me convinced that this is a niche-like quality fragrance. You're probably sitting there like, what? Vince Camuto Oud? Are you serious? This one really surprised me at just how well it smells and performs. It's nice for a designer fragrance in terms of the presentation, but I'm just talking about the quality of the fragrance itself. Vince Camuto Oud opens with Spanish saffron, nutmeg, Davana, and rum. So straight out of the atomizer, it's a spicy, rummy kind of fragrance, which is a plus in my book. The heart of black sage, pink pepper, musk, and coffee absolute brings an unique kind of take on oud. It goes into the territory of what you would think would be gourmand, but it just warms it up. The coffee and the rum add a little bit of a kick, and it's a kick you're not expecting. It moves your olfactive sense in the right direction. It's got cedar, oud, patchouli, amber, leather, and Indonesian sandalwood or sandalwood in the base. Now the leather in this fragrance I really like. So basically you're getting a combination of a little bit of boozy, a little bit of oud, a little bit of leather, and it's kind of enveloped in this circumference of spicy notes with that coffee absolute, bringing it a bit of a interesting kick in the formula, and it's just extremely enjoyable. And being an oudy fragrance, albeit not a heavy oudy fragrance, it's a very long lasting in terms of its quality and the way that it wears, its performance. It's very similar to a niche fragrance. What a fantastic find, a nice little surprise, nice little hidden gem. If you've never tried Vince Camuto Oud, check it out. The next designer fragrance that carries what I think are niche-like qualities is a fragrance by Issey Miyake. Relatively hard to find fragrance, and the price is just going to be going up and up. It is Pulse of the Night. Pulse of the Night has quickly become one of my favorite dark incense-heavy fragrances for cooler weather. It doesn't pull any punches. It opens with spices and frankincense, so you get that very thick, smoky, rich incense in the very open of the fragrance. It's got tonka bean, cedarwood, labdanum, cashmere. That cashmere and labdanum combination is what gives it kind of a little bit of a heavier resinous heart, going into the base of leather, woods, vetiver, sandalwood, and of course vanilla. Vanilla is often in really good men's cool weather fragrances to kind of offset the darker, heavier, more resinous notes in the fragrance, because it's creamy, it's light, it's smooth. It's almost like a dark note polisher. You know, it takes off the hard edges of those darker notes, and that's exactly what it does in Pulse of the Night. That's what makes it such a great fragrance. It's very nearly one of those aromas that you just want to wear all the time, and you could almost get away with it if it weren't just specifically for cooler weather, but it's done so well, it's blended so well. It's an epic fragrance, and that's why I think of this when I think of designer fragrances that have that niche-like quality. Issey Miyake's Pulse of the Night. In our ongoing pursuit of finding designer fragrances that are niche-like quality, nighttime seems to be the theme, because this one is also a nighttime fragrance, or at least that's in the title or the name of the fragrance. It is by Dolce & Gabbana. It's part of their limited edition, exclusive edition for the One DNA. It is the One Luminous Night. Now, the very first time that I got my nose on this fragrance, I was wowed, I admit it, and I immediately went out and bought it, and then it just disappeared. I think I got it at Harrods. I think you can get it still at Harrods, which is cool. because it is a limited edition. Grab it up while you can, because once it's gone, it's going to be a little bit harder to find, but this is going to be one of the more popular of the one exclusive line. So hopefully it'll be out there in discounters long time to come, because it's a very, very solid release. It's got that whole, it embodies everything about the one that you really like. It builds a solid performing open with basil, bergamot, and black pepper. You got geranium, sandalwood, frankincense, and amber. So all of those are very heavy hitters in this fragrance, but the number one note in this fragrance that sets it apart, and oddly enough, it's wordplay. It's what makes this a great date night fragrance, is the date note in it. It is a fruit, but it doesn't seem like a fruit. It's a date. Fruit is very kind of a mealy, but it's a little bit heavier. It's sweet. It almost reminds me of fig when I eat it. Very good for you. Lots of antioxidants. Date is, as an aroma, it's just a heavier, sultry, seductive. There's some really interesting note play in Luminous Night, and not only is it named appropriately because it is a great date night fragrance, but it also is a perfect nighttime fragrance. But the great thing about this fragrance is it's super versatile. You can wear it in any kind of season. It doesn't have to be pigeonholed for a particular time, but what makes it niche-like quality is just how well it performs. It lasts a good 8+ hours, and for a softer, lightly sweet, seductive, sexy date night fragrance, it's a great affect to have that's built into the scent profile. That's what contributes to the niche-like quality, and this one absolutely nails it. The One Luminous Night by Dolce & Gabbana. The next designer fragrance that I feel like absolutely nails niche quality is really going to be no surprise. It's from Narciso Rodriguez, and it's from a burgeoning line of fragrances, the For Him line, that have just grown. For Him Blue Noir, of course, that has just grown better and better each iteration that's been released. And of course, the note of iris has been dominating men's fragrance for quite some time. I feel like it's reaching its apex, its crescendo, and in specific, at least in this line, I feel like it's crescendoed in For Him Blue Noir Parfum. The Parfum edition is fantastic. It is a wonderful iris heavy fragrance. It's not the softer laundry detergent iris that you get in Prada L'Homme, but it's the more heavier Valentino Uomo Intense kind of iris, or Dior Homme Intense kind of iris. It's that heavy, wants to be, if not seen, then at least smelled or heard kind of fragrant note. I wouldn't call it loud, but it's really close, and I love that about it, because it's kind of a subtle, refined, upscale iris, because iris is pretty much an upscale note. If iris can be casual in Prada L'Homme, it's definitely upscale in For Him Blue Noir Parfum. This also has cypress, blue atlas cedar. It's got a nice, elegant, dry vetiver. It's got musk for weight and density, but it also has a combination of textiles, suede, and leather together that are heavy enough and weighty enough to make this a near leather fragrance. And an iris leather works so well together, as is illustrated in Valentino Uomo Intense. So again, not that this smells like that, but it's another iteration of how iris and leather work together in a fragrance. This is an epic example of how designer can be very niche-like in quality, because it also performs extremely well. Probably the best performing out of all of the Blue Noir fragrances, and that's why I can recommend Narciso Rodriguez, because of the Blue Noir For Him Parfum. The next designer fragrance that's niche-like in quality is one from Bulgari. It's a Bulgari man fragrance. When I first smelled it, I didn't really know what I was smelling. I don't think that the fragrance had macerated long enough, or there was something wrong in the actual atomizer tube, and once I had ejected all of that, the fragrance really came into its own. No doubt my nose changed a bit too, and I could kind of olfactively grasp what I was actually smelling, and it's become quickly one of my favorite designer fragrances, and that is Bulgari Man Terre Essence. Talk about a rendition of a fragrance that is dank and rich, and this is like the best of hot ceramics, hot pottery, and earth and dank just jammed in together, compressed into one. It's also a good example of how well the note of styrax can impact a fragrance, because this is a very styrax heavy fragrance. Mastic, styrax, kind of the same things, just resins, very resin heavy. There's a good bit of iris in here as well, but this is a great example of how iris can be in a fragrance and not take dominance. But before you get to the primary, that compressed hot pottery and earthy and styrax mastic, it opens with a very bright citrusy calamundan and citron, very lemony, very lemon fresh. It's more like a bright fruit than just a generic lemon smell, and that's what makes this an extremely unique fragrance from the open to the heart. It's not really much of a mid here. You just pretty much, you get that nice bright open, then it goes straight into that softly resinous, very earthy iris and styrax heavy fragrance. So that's what makes it easy to recommend Bulgari Mantaray Essence as a very niche-like quality fragrance. Now, for a very long time, fragrances like Encre Noir by Lalique and any of the Encre Noir Sport, Encre Noir Extreme, all of those, along with a catalog full of fragrances by Lalique, are all very niche-like in quality, so it's no surprise then that the relatively new release by Lalique is also very niche-like, and that is Lalique's White in Black. The reason that I chose White in Black as an example of a niche-like quality designer fragrance is just because it's so well done. Now, this is an example of a designer fragrance that is massively pleasing. For the first hour and a half that you're wearing it, it's got a very loud scent bubble. It's ever present and very spicy, and in fact is reminiscent to a degree of Viktor & Rolf's Spice Bomb. I didn't realize just how much this smelled like Spice Bomb in the early, like in the open of the fragrance, until I did a side-by-side, and they are very similar in terms of their spiciness and their warmth, and they're just like captivating, you know, capturing your sense and just holding on to it. Like a lot of solid woody oriental fragrances, this opens with a bit of fruit and then frankincense. Got frankincense in the open. In the heart is where you get some spices. You've got pink pepper, you've got elemi resins, you've got provincial lavender. So combination of lavender, elemi, and pink pepper pushes forward an extreme wealth of spicy notes. But the heart of cedarwood, patchouli, toluene, ambroxan, this very modern aroma chemical, and then vanilla in the base is what makes this fragrance really what it is and stand alone as an incredible niche-like quality fragrance, yet again from Lalique. The combination of toluene, ambroxan, and vanilla gives this fragrance its body, its weight, its density, and makes it a fantastic, long-lasting fragrance. Of course, ambroxan in the right amount is almost like note tofu. It takes on the properties of the heavier notes in the fragrance and just pushes them forward. And that's what it does in White and Black. The next designer house, Chopard, is also known for creating very high quality fragrances. In specific, the Malachi line has gotten a lot of rave reviews, and this is an excellent one. It is Chopard Black Incense Malachi. Fantastic. Just like the name implies, if you're looking for a fragrance that's just super bold, super powerful, and super strong, but also has a bit of unique upscale subtlety to it, then look no further than Chopard Black Incense Malachi. This has spices, a bit of oud, a little bit of leather for texture, but primarily you're getting this Somalian incense, a dense amount of high quality Somalian incense, and that's what makes this such a great fragrance. The quality of the oils used in this fragrance is what makes it such a great designer release. It's very niche-like, and the fact that Chopard can sell this fragrance for the price tag that it comes at, which is under $100, is incredible. It makes you ask the question, why can't everyone do it? Well, because it's not that easy to make really good smelling fragrances, and you know, there are a few designers that just know how to do it because of their experience. They know what they're doing. Really, any of the Malachi line can stand up here and be niche-like in quality, but in specific, the Black Incense Malachi is great. Well, guys, this pretty much wraps up my 7 fragrances that are a great example of when designers get it right. They put a lot into it and come up with something that's a very close to niche quality. If you own any of these, let me know what your favorites are. If you've run across a designer yourself, though, that makes some really good quality fragrances that are near niche quality, let us know what those are in the comments below. Thanks so much though for stopping by and checking out today's video. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.